Hello, welcome to the Film Pulse Podcast. This is episode number 188. My name's Adam Patterson. Joining me today, as always, Kevin Rakestraw. How you doing?
Pretty good.
This week on the show, we'll be starting things off with a new segment, Movie News, where we round up some notable bits of newsy goodness throughout the week. Then we'll be reviewing two horror films, Tales of Halloween and Bone Tomahawk. Bone
Tomahawk. Perhaps maybe the best title.
Yeah.
So far
I
this
think
year.
so. I definitely think it's the best title this year so far. Of course, we'll also be going over some of what we're watching, movie predictions, new on video on demand, Blu-ray releases, all of that fun stuff. Before we jump into the news this week, if you're listening to the audio version of this, you may be wondering, why is the show coming out late this week? Well, we're trying a new format for the video version of the show, since viewers like shorter form videos. What we're doing is releasing each segment separately on our YouTube channel. So every day a new segment's going to come out. And then on Friday, we're going to have the full version of the show released. And along with that, we're going to be putting it out on iTunes and SoundCloud and all of the other audio formats. So that's how we're going to try to do it from now on. If you are one of our patrons on Patreon, we appreciate that, by the way. At the $3 per month level on our Patreon, you get everything early. So you'll get everything at the beginning of the week. The full video show and the full audio show, you'll get at the beginning of the week if you're at the $3 per month level. If you are interested in supporting what we do, you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/filmpulse if you want to get the show early. If not, that's fine. That's cool too. It's still going to be free. It's still going to be up every week. It'll just be better if you help. So let's jump into some movie news, shall we? Before we do that, real quickly, I wanted to thank our latest Patreon, Crystal Marcano. Thank you so much for subscribing. Let's kick things off with some Star Wars stuff. So the Star Wars trailer came out, the new one. I take it you didn't. Did you watch this?
No. I don't watch no trailers.
I know.
But I am excited, I gotta say.
So, I was going to not watch the trailer, but I couldn't help myself. I ended up watching it multiple times, and I loved it. It gave me chills. I am so excited for this. And what they did this week, and I'm sure all of you are fully aware of this, they put the tickets on sale with the trailer. So the tickets went on sale, and then a little bit later, the trailer dropped during Monday Night Football. As soon as the tickets went on sale, basically the whole internet crashed. I don't know. I tried to get tickets from every ticketing website known to man, and all of them were down. Fandango, movie tickets, they were all down. For hours, they were down. So I did get tickets. Actually, I got two sets of tickets for two different theaters.
How'd you finagle that?
So what I did first was I went to the actual website of one of the theaters around here, and bought tickets direct from their website. That was a smart idea. However, the tickets that I got were for 3D. But just regular screen 3D.
Oh boy.
And for Star Wars, my first experience with Star Wars, the new one, I want that to be the best possible. So I ended up waiting till the next day and checking online, and I was able to get tickets for the IMAX in Times Square. So the cool thing about New York is, here in the city, they're doing screenings every half hour round the clock. So you can get, they have screenings for like 1:30 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So you can, even though there's a lot of people here, there's a lot of theaters here too. So I was able to snag some. So IMAX reported that they made $6.5 million in domestic pre-sales for Star Wars.
Damn.
Basically shattering all previous records. This movie's going to be huge. I'm predicting that it's going to be the highest grossing movie of all time. I think it's going to be the fastest selling. I think it's going to be the highest grossing opening weekend. I think it's going to shatter all the records.
It's gonna break everything.
I think so. And it looks great too.
Right.
I'm really excited about it. The trailer got me super amped up, and I'm feeling really good about this movie.
Like I said, I was kind of ambivalent towards the new Star Wars coming out, and I just figured, at some point in time, I'll get around to it.
Someday.
But yeah, everyone else's excitement is kind of wearing off on me. That I'm a bit excited for Star Wars.
I think you're gonna have to see this one in the theater. I know you like watching movies on your 28-inch.
No. I'm gonna try and get out to the theater. I don't know if I'm gonna be going the opening weekend, just because I have a feeling it's gonna be a nightmare.
Well, what I did as soon as the thought of buying pre-sale tickets. Now, keep in mind, the movie doesn't even open until December 18th, so we're 2 months away. When I started thinking about it, reserved seating is, as long as you do reserved seating, you're fine.
Yeah.
If you don't do reserved seating, you're screwed. So hopefully,
but it's still just the thought of being around that many people in a small room.
Usually, though, reserved seating is the theaters are bigger and there's more space.
There's still people. There's still too many.
There's still people. Yeah.
I'm just talking about me, but I am excited. Exactly. Even to the point where I'm finding it hard to not watch the trailer.
Well, that's kind of where I was, because I'm a pretty big Star Wars fanboy, and I was like, I'm not gonna watch it. I don't want anything to be. I don't want anything. I don't want to know anything. I don't want to know anything. But I couldn't help myself. As soon as it came out on Monday, I was watching it over and over. And the cool thing about how they're cutting the trailers is that they show you enough to get you even more excited, but they really give nothing away. We still have no idea what the movie's really about.
I hope it's more space politics. That'd be cool.
Metachlorians right? And all that.
Didn't everyone love the space politics?
Oh yeah, that's what made the prequels amazing, was the nonstop space politics.
There's nothing better than made up politics in space. I mean, genius idea.
I agree.
That's what people have been clamoring for all these years.
Yeah. Moving on. The 21st was Back to the Future Day. Have you read about any of the
stop this shit. Stop it. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it was bad enough when we were like celebrating, like, this is the 27th anniversary of this movie coming out. Now it's like, this is the day in that movie. Yeah, great. Let's just actually live like, oh my God.
Maybe if you actually saw the movie, you'd have a greater appreciation for it.
Maybe. I don't know.
I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool just to go over some of the things that various companies did. I mean, it's all just a marketing and promotion thing, right?
Yeah.
Pepsi came out with their Pepsi Perfect from Back to the Future 2, which was this kind of, basically it's just regular Pepsi, but it comes in a cool looking bottle. And they did an extremely limited run. I think it was like 6,500 units or something. Immediately sold out. And then everybody got pissed because they made so few of these things and demand was so high that they instantly sold out of them on Amazon. So they announced this week that they are making another batch of them to be sold later on. Nike came out with the self-lacing shoes from Back to the Future 2, which was really cool. I don't know if you saw the video of Michael J. Fox showing them off, but they're legitimately self-lacing shoes that actually work. Those are going to be they're going to be, I don't know how many they said that they were making. I don't think they said how many they were making, but they're all going to be sold at auction for the Michael J. Fox Foundation in sometime next year. Yeah, sometime next year they're going to be doing that. So that's actually really cool. They did make a prototype pair, I think back in 2011 or 2012, and they were the same design, but they weren't actually self-lacing. These new ones are, so that's pretty cool. Lexus showed off more of its hoverboard stuff, even though there haven't been any real updates on that hoverboard thing, but I guess they took this as an opportunity to show that off, that they actually made a hoverboard, a real working hoverboard.
Oh,
Still
boy.
not quite the same as in the movie, but it looks like they're getting close. The USA Today that came out on the 21st looked like the USA Today that was in Back to the Future 2. Had the same logo and everything, which I thought that was really cool. I think it's really cool that companies do that, you know. I think it was Warner Brothers came out with the trailer for Jaws 19, which is featured in Back to the Future 2. And that was kind of funny. Yeah, bunch of stuff. I thought it was cool. As a big fan of the Back to the Future movies, I thought it was fun. It's just a little bit of fun, Kevin. God, way to rain on everybody's parade.
I had to watch them.
Yeah, you are. I
thought marketing bullshit.
I thought for sure you'd watch. It's just a celebration of a fun movie franchise that everybody likes.
No, it's just to get you to spend money on things.
I didn't spend any money on things, and I had a good time.
Saying other people. Yeah. I mean, it's nice the way that. What was it? You said the self-lacing shoes. It's nice to go that way. You know, make it a charity
route. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go the charity route.
New trailers this week. We have Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Oh,
what do you think about this?
I guess that could be a fun time.
I tried to read the book. I had the book, and the problem that I had with the book is that it was too much like Pride and Prejudice. It's basically, I mean, Jane Austen is credited as one of the authors of the book. So basically, Seth Grahame-Smith took the actual book of Pride and Prejudice and just kind of injected the zombies into it and changed things around a little bit, obviously. But the way that it's written is still in that kind of Victorian, classical, annoying style.
Not a fan of the Jane Austen.
No. Absolutely not. I do not like Jane Austen. So I had issues with getting through the actual book. The movie, I don't know if they're going to go that route because the trailer, it's weird. The trailer's got this really weird tone to it where you don't know if they're playing it straight or if they're having fun with it. It looks, in the trailer, it looks like they're playing it straight, which is fine, but if you play it straight, like, you got to really commit to that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was thinking about some of these newer indie period pieces that look really good, like Jane Eyre. And I was thinking, man, if you're going to do it, if you made it look like that, that'd be pretty cool.
Just have some zombies show up here and there.
Yeah. So I honestly don't know what to think about this one. Jane Got a Gun, the first trailer for that came out. That's the Western with Natalie Portman. The Western resurgence continues.
Oh, going strong on them Westerns.
This one had a very troubled time. It lost several of the actors. It lost, I think, at least one director. Just a really tough time getting this one out there, but it's finally ready. It doesn't look that good to me. The trailer was, I don't know. Not sure about this one at all. New trailer for Joy came out, the David O. Russell film with a whole lot of people, Robert De Niro and Jennifer Lawrence. I think it looks interesting. I think it looks pretty good. We also have the full-length trailer for the Netflix series Jessica Jones, the new Marvel series. I'm pretty excited for this one. Apparently, it's got an even darker tone than the Daredevil series, and I like the Daredevil series quite a bit. This one stars Kristen Ritter as Jessica Jones, and I love the Daredevil series on Netflix, so I'm very amped up for this one.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be good. So check that one out. Moving on, Edgar Wright. Got some Edgar Wright news. You're a fan of Edgar Wright. I'm a fan of Edgar Wright. Let's talk about some Edgar Wright.
What do we got?
John Hamm joins Edgar Wright's Baby Driver.
Okay.
So he's got his next movie is called Baby Driver. It's about a young man who is kind of coerced into joining a crime family and becomes a getaway driver.
Oh boy!
During a heist, and I think that John Hamm is going to be the one of the bad guys, one of the villains.
Oh boy! That's probably not going to end well.
No. Sounds like a bit of a crime comedy. I'm sure that it'll be good because it's Edgar Wright. The other news is that Johnny Depp is set to star in his upcoming film Fortunately the Milk, which is an adaptation of the Neil Gaiman children's book.
Okay.
And
that's interesting.
Yeah, and Brett McKenzie from Flight of the Conchords is adapting the book for the screen.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so I guess it's going to be kind of a live action animation hybrid, but this one's a long way off. They just put together the pitch material or sent it out this week. So
okay.
This one's going to be a long way off, but I think that it looks quite promising. The Raid's Iko Uwais joins the Mo Brothers' next movie, Headshot. So the Mo Brothers did Macabre and what was that, Killers?
Yeah.
Killers was their latest one. And Iko Uwais is joining their new one called Headshot, where he plays a young man who washes ashore, an amnesiac with a serious head injury whose past comes back to haunt him shortly after being nursed back to health by a young doctor. Violence ensues. What do you think about this one? I believe that his team, his fight choreography team, is also going to be joining this one, so we'll probably see some decent fighting in there as well.
I'm in.
Of course I'm in. I really wanted to like Killers, but that one didn't really work for me.
No. Nope.
However, I'm still on board with what these guys are working on, and I believe that Julie Estelle, who plays Hammer Girl in the Raid 2, is also going to be in Headshot. So sign me up. Let's do it. As long as it's not taking away from the Raid 3. As long as he's not, because we need him available for the Raid 3, because they need to make that right now.
Yes.
Also, as a side note, the Raid remake just lost its director, Patrick Hughes, the guy who did maybe one or two of the Expendables movies.
Oh no!
He backed out. He backed out, and then Screen Gems, who was, I think, distributor / co-production company on it, also backed out.
Good.
So
everyone back out to the point that it's not made.
Yeah.
Let's not do this.
Yeah.
It's a terrible idea.
I completely agree. That actually, we'll use that to transition into our next segment, which is viewer comments. We just got this one in, actually. Is Sanchez commented on this article on our website, and he says, well said, I really hope this doesn't get made. Don't whitewash this franchise like it's been done countless times before. I'm sick of it. If you can't watch it in Indonesian or the English dub, then don't watch the movie. Don't ruin a classic with an American version. I know this is going to be poorly made. It's not even going to feature the martial arts used for this film, which is the pencak silat style.
Yeah.
We Americans have to stop ruining everything.
Correct.
Yes, I agree.
I agree. Why?
Agree.
What is the point of remaking this? Why?
With this one, yeah, I don't see the point in remaking this. I think that there are some English remakes of movies that do work. The Let the Right One In, for instance. I thought the American remake of that was maybe even better than the original. But in the case of The Raid, you just gotta leave that one be.
Yeah.
Like, that's not gonna work in America. We don't have our own, we have Roadhouse. That's ours, Yeah, Roadhouse is our thing. The Raid can be theirs and leave it. Although I would love to see an Indonesian version of Roadhouse. I want to see it go the other way.
That would be fantastic. I'm all for that.
The Deemer on YouTube commented on our last week's podcast when we talked about Beast of No Nation. He says, I thought Beast of No Nation was very unique and compelling, if brutal in its depiction of violence and war. That made the film even more honest in its narrative about a child soldier. It's also one of the rare movies based on the African continent. Yes, it's a large landmass, not a single country.
Oh, thank God.
That did not need the typical Western trope of a white POV character. Rarely do you find a movie about such subject matter that doesn't feel compelled to throw in a familiar face as a surrogate to ease the audience into the experience, and it goes on from there. But I think that just kind of, I think he was kind of going off of what you said, Kevin, about Idris Elba playing too big of a role.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I agree with him. It's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I kind of agree too, where you have kind of, I think what he was saying is that you have kind of like the bigger name person as a surrogate to ease people into these more serious stories with more minor or younger characters or people that we don't really know by name.
Yeah. I just wish they would stop doing that.
Yep. At the end, he says, either way, a good podcast, guys. Keep it up. Thank you, the Deemer. Finally, we have one other comment from JD. This was on our website. Jennifer Lawrence is the best. Her second Oscar is on its way. That was in reference to the Joy trailer. I don't know, man. Maybe nomination.
She'll get a nom.
I could see nomination.
For everything.
I just don't know. Yeah.
They have to have her show up. She's got to show up. She's so much fun on the red carpet.
She's such a goof.
Lawrence.
She's such a goof.
Yeah.
If you want to send us a question or comment for the show, podcast at filmpulse.net. You can also send me a tweet at filmpulse.net. I'll take a look at that. Or you can just comment on our site or any of our videos or any of that stuff, and I'll see it. Let's talk about our first review of the week, and that's going to be Tales of Halloween. I'm not going to list all the directors. There's 11 directors, I think. Okay. I have the synopsis here. 10 stories are woven together by their shared theme of Halloween night in an American suburb where ghouls, imps, aliens, and axe murderers appear for one night only to terrorize unsuspecting residents. This is out now in limited release and video on demand. Kevin, I'm going to throw it over to you.
Tales of Halloween. You sure?
Yeah, because I already know what you're going to say about it, so let's do it. Oh, no, actually, I'm predicting, but let's do it. What do you think of Tales of Halloween?
I hated it.
Ugh.
Is that your prediction?
Yeah.
I absolutely hated it. For me, there's absolutely no redeeming factors in this thing, and I just wanted it to be off. It was god awful.
Yeah, I completely disagree with you on this one. I had fun with this one. The shitty thing is, I saw this a week ago, and I wanted to rewatch it for this so that I could talk about some of the specific segments that I liked and highlight some specific ones, but I was not able to rewatch it, and I cannot remember the specific segments that I liked, which is very unfortunate. Very unfortunate that I just can't remember the ones that I have really appreciated. But when I watched this, I had fun with it. I liked it a lot more than the VHS movies, or maybe the last two VHS movies. And the length of the shorts, the segments, I thought it was a perfect length because
the length was good. I am on board with the length. Good run times on these. I'll give you that.
The segments in VHS I thought were a little bit too long. They kind of overstayed their welcome, especially on the ones that you didn't end up liking. They were just, you're stuck with them. Yeah. With ABCs of Death, those were too short because there was 26 of them in a movie. So yeah. they were barely anything. So this one I thought that they were good lengths. I mean, there's 10 stories and they all have a cohesive beginning, middle, and an end to them.
I agree. They're all terrible.
What was terrible about them?
Everything. None of them were. The number one thing I guess I disliked was the humor. Nothing made me laugh, which is really unfortunate because I thought at least I can tune in and have a good time, like enjoy myself. But that didn't happen. All the storylines were pretty, just really lacked anything of interest whatsoever. The only one that came close to being, and maybe this plays a large part too, the only one that came close to like, oh, I kind of like this was the first one, The Sweet Tooth. I thought that that was a good idea. And I liked the performances in that and where it went, which unfortunately was the first one right off the bat, and then everything was just straight downhill.
I liked most of them. I did. There weren't any. There weren't any that I actually hated. There were some that just were average. The pumpkin one, where the pumpkin was the monster eating people, that one was probably my least favorite out of all of them. But
I didn't like that one. I didn't like the one with the neighbor who ended up being the devil and they kidnapped the kid.
Yeah, I liked that one.
That humor, I just couldn't stand it.
I didn't think it was. I don't know how effective the humor was for me, but I liked the story. The other one I didn't like was actually the Lucky McKee one. I think that it was the Lucky McKee one, the one where it was the couple and they couldn't have a baby.
Oh my god, that was awful.
I'm pretty sure that was the Lucky.
Oh my god,
that was my least favorite out of all of them. I'm pretty sure that was the Lucky McKee one.
That was terrible.
Which is a shame because I like Lucky McKee, but.
And the one that I don't even really dislike or hate or enjoy or any. I just I have no feelings whatsoever towards because it was completely nothing. Was the two neighbors that lived across the street from each other and them fighting?
Oh yeah,
that was such a pointless short.
Well, that just was kind of a play on the popularization of the home haunts. You know, if you see that movie American Scream, maybe you'll have a greater appreciation for that. I think that this is a movie that maybe will be appreciated more by diehard horror fans because there's all these Easter eggs and winks and nods everywhere sprinkled out throughout this movie where some of the things I think you wouldn't pick up on them unless you were a huge horror buff. And I'm sure that there's plenty that I actually missed too. But
yeah,
I like that they got Adrienne Barbeau to be the narrator. I liked the cameos from John Landis and Joe Dante. I appreciated that one. And the one with John Landis was probably one of my favorites.
Because
I thought that one was legitimately funny.
It was kind of funny, especially when he just kept calling him back, telling him to take him back.
Yeah, I liked that one. I liked the fact that they were slightly interconnected, but not in a way that I thought was detrimental to each of the segments. It didn't feel like it was forced. It just felt like it was kind of thrown in there, which I actually liked that. Where you can see just little bits, like when some of the trick-or-treaters are the same ones as from the other segments and stuff. I liked that.
Yeah, the fact that all 10 stories takes place in the same little town.
Yeah. I liked that, but yeah, I had fun with this. I think I don't know. I think that overall, I would say Trick or Treat is probably still one of the best Halloween anthology movies, or just one of the best movies that takes place on Halloween. But yeah, you probably won't. Actually, I think you'll like Trick or Treat more than this. Trick or Treat's only like 4 or 5 segments, but I think it's a little bit more cohesive than this one.
Yeah,
I still had fun with this one though. I gotta say, part of it's probably just the fact that it's themed around the holiday. I mean, I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. So. And a lot of the stories, too, a lot of the segments were kind of the same theme. Like a lot of them were based around people doing bad things and being punished for it. They all had kind of a Tales from the Crypt vibe to them.
Yeah. So for like these anthologies and stuff, the fact that it's based around Halloween, does that automatically get you like a 2-star minimum? Does that like lock you in at a 2-star base?
Well, it's hard to say because to my knowledge. The only ones I can think of are this one and Trick or Treat. I mean, if you're talking about like anthologies, horror anthologies in general, I don't know. I don't mind them because even the bad ones, they're short. You know, I've seen a lot of movies that have been bad for an hour and a half, and I sit through them, and it's like, if these are bad, at least they're only like 10 minutes long. You know, it's like to me, it's like going to a film festival and going to one of the shorts blocks. You know, where some of them are going to be good, some of them are going to be crap. Mm-hmm. But as long as there's the good to crap ratio is in the positive, then it's, to me, it's a positive experience. And for this one, it was. For this one, like I said, there weren't any that I outright hated, except maybe that Lucky McKee one. But so out of 10, one that I really, really hated, or one that I moderately hated, and the rest were okay. So it's a positive for me.
There you go.
Had a fun time. I just had a fun time with this one.
Well, I wish I had a fun time, but I didn't. That's what I wanted. I wanted a fun time, and I didn't get a fun time. And I'm a little bit bitter about it, to be quite honest.
Well, just go back and watch VHS 1. You love that one so much.
Did I? I thought I hated the VHS.
I think you liked 1 and you hated the rest.
Yeah, I think 1 was okay.
I think what it boils down to is that you just don't like anthologies.
I love the idea of horror anthologies. I would just like to see a good one.
Oh, maybe someday, Kevin. Maybe someday.
I can dream, can't I? I'm gonna stay positive vibes. Just throw it out there into the universe like The Secret. One of these days.
Secret. Oh my god, that's a Secret reference. Is that still around, I wonder?
I don't know.
Probably.
Well, I'm doing it. I'm doing it for horror anthologies, so it's still around over here.
I guess we'll see what happens. All right, what are you gonna give Tales of Halloween out of 10?
1.
Jesus Christ. I think that this is probably the furthest off we've ever been. I'm gonna give it a 6.5.
Ow.
Yeah, I had fun with this one.
But I mean, this has been going on for how many years though between us? You're really into horror.
Yeah, I'm always gonna be soft on horror, sure.
Exactly. I think that plays a huge role.
Yeah. Tales of Halloween. I still think it's a fun watch. Check it out now. It's on VOD and playing in select cities. All right, next movie, Bone Tomahawk. This is directed by S. Craig Zoller. I have a synopsis here. 4 men set out in the Wild West to rescue a group of captives from cannibalistic cave dwellers. This is also playing now in select cities and on VOD. It stars Patrick Wilson, Kurt Russell. Sean Young is in this, but I don't even remember seeing her.
She was with the mayor. She showed up just for like a little bit.
Okay, yeah. Also have Matthew Fox in there, and David Arquette, Sid Haig, and Richard Jenkins. I will start this one off. I kind of loved Bone Tomahawk.
Tomahawk.
Man, this one it starts out as a pretty typical Western. Looks great. Sounds great. It's a slow burn movie. It takes a while. It takes its time, but I liked that a lot. I loved the dialogue in this movie. I loved the characters. I thought Richard Jenkins was awesome.
Richard Jenkins is MVP. He was
he was almost unrecognizable in his role because he didn't really sound like Richard Jenkins, but because he had that beard too, so he didn't really look like Richard Jenkins either.
He was just absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, he was great. I was surprised at how funny this was. There was a lot of comedy injected into this.
Yes,
and that was a surprise to me, and not just kind of silly things that happened on the visual side, but a lot of the dialogue was very snappy and very clever and very funny. There was sort of a dry humor to a lot of the dialogue, which I appreciated very much.
Yes, it definitely helped with the slow burn aspect of it. because it does. It takes its time.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But but see, I didn't mind it either
No,
because
no, because there were good characters.
yeah, it was a good plot. You know, it's a simple plot like most westerns. It's just about four guys that are going to rescue two people that get kidnapped after Indians or Native Americans raid their little town, their sleepy little town.
Yeah,
And I just
They also happen-
the journey
they
was
also-
a fun one. So
yeah,
even though most of the movie is just them traveling, because it takes, I think they said it takes 2 days or 3 days. There's a 5-day ride, and they were planning on getting there in
yeah.
2 or 3 days. So
But some things go wrong.
yeah, so
And
a
then
lot of it is them just trying to get to this camp and try to rescue.
Yeah, that's the
the,
bulk of the movie right there.
But I'll tell you one thing: when you finally get to the action, it is the level of violence and gore in this. It goes from 1 to 100. I mean, there's like relatively no violence, and then you go up to holy crap! Did they just do that to that guy? Levels of
Yes.
violence.
Yeah,
Right?
it's
I mean,
it's
it's
something.
shocking.
It's definitely shocking, and I gotta say, like, I think I'm almost certain that I jumped every single time a gun was
Oh
fired.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's lots of jump scares, especially because this tribe they're going up against I'm pretty sure their default mode of transportation is sprinting. Like
Yeah.
all they do is sprint. They just sprint everywhere they go. So they'll be
But
walking.
it's a silent sprinting.
Yeah, they'll just be walking, down a trail, and these natives just pop out of everywhere after them, and yeah, it's fun. It's a fun movie.
It's and let's take care of this question real quick. It's called Bone Tomahawk. So right away I'm thinking, well, number one, this is a badass title. This is
Yeah.
a great title for a movie. I love this. But then curiosity got me a little bit, and I was like, I wonder if there's actually going to be bone tomahawks in here. And guess what? There's bone tomahawks.
Yeah, and they're pretty intense.
Yeah,
The bone
there's a couple.
tomahawks are pretty intense.
There's a couple of them, and they're used.
Yeah.
And wow. And one is used.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
It gets
I'll tell you,
disgusting.
people that can't handle gore are gonna have a tough time with this one, because even I was squirming at what happens in this movie.
I couldn't watch a lot of that at the end there.
It's really, really brutal, and it looks very real, and it sounds like the sounds that occur. You're just like, oh my god, because the sound in this movie is very crisp and clear. Couple of the just little minor scenes that I liked. I liked the scene when they were gearing up and they were all on their horses, and Kurt Russell just looks at Richard Jenkins and goes, "That is not a handsome horse." I don't know why, but that line really got me. And there's a lot of little lines like that, mostly spoken by Richard Jenkins. Just little throwaway just little lines here and there. And
just everything about with like when you're first introduced to Jenkins, the whole soup tea thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it throws you, because the movie starts off so brutal.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of segue into that, and you're just like, okay, what am I watching here?
Yeah.
It's a Western, but it's a horror movie, but it's also a comedy.
Yeah, it is definitely a genre mashup for sure. And
then you have Jenkins when he's talking about that guy that he saw on two crutches.
Yeah.
Just talking about the possibilities, and then how he gets so excited about that flea circus.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And he's just so relieved and so happy to find out that they were indeed talented fleas and not a ruse.
One of the other kind of small scenes that I really liked was the scene when they were they were standing around. They were on a hill and they were looking through the German, aka their fancy spyglass that they had, and it was Matthew Fox kind of scoping things out, and he saw the snake hanging from the tree, and then you hear the gunshot, and then you see the spyglass move down like 5 inches, and he says like, deceased, or what type of snake is it? And then you hear the gunshot moves down, deceased. I don't know, that scene was really effective for me. I just thought it was funny. I liked Matthew Fox in this, which is odd because I don't really like him in a lot of things.
Yeah, I thought everyone was fantastic.
I liked his character as kind of the pretty boy who had all the expensive equipment, and he was wearing like the nice suit to go out and do this, and he just knew everything. But he was still kind of a badass.
He got to see the Bone Tomahawk firsthand.
Yes, he did. Yeah. Yep.
Oh man, Bone Tomahawk. What a surprise! I gotta say, this is quite a surprise.
Yeah, I have very little negative to say about this movie. I was pretty much gushing on it the whole time. I loved it. It was so much fun. Had a great time.
Yeah, I definitely recommend Bone Tomahawk.
And just like this,
thank goodness, because there's because you set the expectation pretty high with a title like that, and then you got that cast in there, and you're just like, oh man, I hope this turns out to be good, and it sure does.
Yeah, and Kurt Russell coming. I mean, I haven't seen Kurt Russell in quite a while.
Yeah, if you want a Kurt Russell fix,
and
I'm gonna see some classic Kurt Russell.
Yeah, I'm a big Kurt Russell fan from way back. So this was great. It's great to have him back in this type of role where he's kind of a badass. He's kind of a badass. But I also like going back to the kind of slow burn quality of this. I like that because they took the time to really flesh out these characters, and we got to know their personalities. And I mean, they dedicated entire scenes to just making sure that we knew who these people were and what they were like and their personalities. Like for instance, when Matthew Fox came into the saloon and had that interaction with the passed out piano player and all that stuff. Like, that was stuff that didn't have to be in the movie. It's
good, provided good background.
Yeah, it helped us understand who that character was and a little bit more about the town. And I thought that was great. It was just a nice touch to add that level of detail to the movie overall and to all these characters. So yeah, Bone Tomahawk comes highly recommended from me. I had a great time with it, and it's just and it's got a great poster too. I don't know if you saw that poster.
Badass. And I'm sitting here looking at IMDb wondering why the hell they went with that one.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the generic, badass poster.
Kurt Russell looks kind of crestfallen in that one.
Yeah, he does.
So looking down at the poor guy. It's like, oh, geez, what we get ourselves into?
Yeah, I know you guys. I know what's gonna happen to you guys, and it ain't pretty. All right, let's go ahead and give some scores to Bone Tomahawk. I'm gonna give this one an 8 out of 10.
I had a feeling that's where you're going to go with it, and I think I might be right there with you. I think I'm gonna have to go an 8.
There you have it. Double 8s on Bone Tomahawk. Check it out. It's absolutely worth a look.
I don't know how many times I said out loud, "Sweet Jesus."
Yeah,
during this movie,
it's intense. It gets really intense, and the way it's shot too. The way that the action plays out. There's a little bit of a skirmish that occurs between Richard Jenkins and Kurt Russell and 2 of the natives, and just that kind of little skirmish that happens. It's very fast, and it's just really kinetic, and it almost reminded me of, I don't know, I guess kind of Tarantino-esque, especially the scene early on when Kurt Russell, and this is not a spoiler, this happens at the very beginning, but he shoots David Arquette in the leg, and just how that kind of plays out, how it's like really fast. It feels like a Tarantino movie, which which is kind of unfortunate because this comes out the same year as The Hateful Eight, which also stars Kurt Russell. And I'm pretty sure that this is going to instantly get forgotten as soon as The Hateful Eight comes out.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I mean, the good thing is that there's at least a little bit of time in between them. So
yeah,
hopefully,
got some space in between there.
Yeah. Hopefully people will check this one out. All right, let's talk about our watch list for the week. I think that I'm going to start it off this week, and I saw a horror film. Here's a quick spoiler. I think my entire list this week's horror movies just because of Halloween coming up. I saw a movie called Julia. This came out this Friday in limited release. To my knowledge, it is not on video on demand. So if it's playing in your area, maybe check it out. This is essentially a rape revenge film. Yeah. So a lot of people right off the bat are not going to be into this one, and I completely understand. I'm not particularly into the rape revenge films in general either, but this one is actually pretty good. It's not great, but it's like a B movie mixed with an indie art house film. The way that it's shot looks like an indie drama or even an indie comedy, the way that they kind of look. So visually, it's very interesting, this movie. It's directed by Matthew A. Brown, and basically it's about a girl who gets sexually assaulted by a group of kind of preppy young rich kids, and she ends up finding this therapist that has this very unorthodox method of kind of dealing with the trauma, which essentially involves exacting revenge on the men who wronged her. And she kind of gets a little bit out of control and just starts going on a rampage, on a killing spree.
Okay.
A lot of really, really brutal scenes in this one too. A lot of really, really, really violent scenes. But the interesting thing about it is that you're never really quite sure what is kind of fantasy and what's reality, because it kind of takes this surreal tone where there's this like weird cult, and you're really never sure what's quite happening, because a lot of it seems like it could be in her head. So I liked that aspect of it. At times I thought that it leaned a little bit too much towards the B movie side of things rather than the indie drama side of things. But overall, I thought it was okay. Just be forewarned. There is a pretty, I mean, it's not like Irreversible or I Spit on Your Grave levels, but there is a rape scene in it that's not pleasant to watch. Although I will say that Matthew A. Brown, he did it in the most respectable way possible, if that makes sense. Like, he didn't do it in, it didn't, at least to me, it didn't feel like it was in like an exploitative way. He wasn't glamorizing the scene or anything like that.
Yeah.
But maybe a light recommend for Julia.
Okay. All right. I have one that's not a light recommend, and that's Chantal Akerman's final movie, No Home Movie. This is a documentary that essentially is about 2 hours of Akerman using her static long takes to kind of document her mother's declining health. And there's just, it hurts to say this, but there's nothing here, really. I mean, there's a couple of scenes here and there where it's Chantal, having a conversation with her mom, and it's interesting because it gives you a little bit of insight. But outside of that, a lot of it is just her mom shuffling about the house, coming into the frame, leaving the frame, walking through the room and into the hall, walking through this room into another room. And that's about it. There's just not a lot to say, unfortunately.
So essentially it is a home movie.
Yeah, kind of.
The title says it's No Home Movie.
No Home Movie.
But it sounds like a home movie.
It's pretty much a home movie. There's And I guess the only thing I can think of with the no home movie aspect of it is one of the things that you do kind of bear witness to is how often Chantel is out and about, like in New York and in Paris, and she's never really home to be there with her mother because she's busy with all these other things in her schedule. So I guess that's part of it. But it's just like as a documentary film, there's nothing here. There's nothing of interest. There's nothing to remark on. It's just this series of images.
Series of images. How'd you see this one?
So I saw this on the festival scope.
Okay. I saw a film from 1982, Lucio Fulci's The New York Ripper. This is quite an infamous movie due to its sexual violence that's in this movie. I will say that there's no raping involved in this movie, but it's still just as disturbing the way that a lot of these women get killed in this movie. So the reason I watched this is I'm actually bringing back the Grindhouse Weekly feature. I know that's been
about time.
I know that it's been dormant for about a year, but I'm bringing it back. I have the write-up completely done for this one, so that'll be up early this week probably. Now I'm actually not too familiar with Fulci's filmography. I haven't seen a lot of his movies, but this one it's interesting because it's kind of a mashup of Italian giallo. So you have a lot of the framing and a lot of the shots look like a giallo. A lot of the scenes are completely drenched in color. You know, there'll be a scene where everything's red and everything's blue, which you know, of course, I love giallo films, so I was into that. But the other side of things is it takes place in New York, so you have this kind of gritty early 80s New York City vibe. You know, something like Taxi Driver or an Abel Ferrara film like The Driller Killer, Ms. 45. So you have that vibe too, mixed in with the giallo. So I was definitely into the aesthetic of this movie.
Yeah.
The level of violence probably could have done without. Now I did see the uncut version of this, which is out on Blu-ray right now, and the one scene I'm just gonna tell you what it is because I feel like maybe people should know this going into it. There's a scene where the killer is cutting up a woman with a razor blade, and there's a super close up of him slicing down her breast, and he splits her nipple in half, like, down the middle. And it is a super close up scene. And even though you know it's not real, it is still really, I mean, it makes you squirm. At least it made me squirm. But I still had a pretty good time with this movie despite that. And yeah, I'd say check it out. It's still, I believe that the uncut version is still not available in the UK. This came out after the whole video nasties thing, but censorship was still an issue over in the UK. They started censoring VHS releases, and this movie, they didn't release it in theaters. They outright said, nah, this is not coming out in theaters. But it did come out on VHS, and they heavily censored it for the VHS release. So you may be able to find like a uncut Blu-ray nowadays, but
yeah.
Either way, New York Ripper, check it out.
Sounds like something. That sounds like something.
Yeah.
I have another American indie. I don't know if you've taken notice that I've watched a number of American indies.
Yeah, and you've been
the last couple of weeks.
I've been impressed. You've been cranking out some features
left and right.
Left and right.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried about when that's going to start to die down. But like as of right now, it's been working out well for me. You know, things are actually coming into my head, but that's not going to last forever. So enjoy it while it lasts, or not enjoy it. I don't know. However you look at it. Yeah,
if you're into American indies, check out the two features that Kevin's doing right now. You have your unsung indies, and your for future reference.
Which doesn't, for future reference, isn't always American indies, but
right, yeah.
a large portion of them are American indies, because for some reason they're not getting distribution, which is, I find odd, considering the quality of a lot of these that I'm seeing compared to what the quality of what is being released. There's a disconnect. I don't know what's going on. What's happening?
I don't know. I agree. I think there is a disconnect, and I think that's why we need to keep plugging away at getting some of these out there.
Gotta talk about it. This one is Her Wilderness. This is from Frank Mosley, not sure. Who you might know more so as an actor, which is essentially how I knew about him. He was in Upstream Color, he was in Sabbatical, he had a small role. Ain't Them Body Saints, he was in there. And this is his second film. And this is extremely minimal, very minimalist. There's barely a narrative thread in there. I mean, the one that is there is just, it's faint as can be. And again, it's one of those things where it's just, a lot of these have been very impressionistic, but I mean, this one is even less so. Like, it's not even impressions. It's just, I mean, it is faint. And essentially, you're put in the driver's seat of trying, make something out of this. He doesn't really meet you halfway. He maybe meets you like, maybe a quarter of the way. And I'm being generous there. Meditative mood piece, And again, and I'm seeing a lot of this with these American indies, is there's nothing to really compare it to, which is the most exciting thing for me, because that's what I want when I'm watching movies. I want something, new, something different. Mm-hmm. And while they might not work 100%, like this one doesn't work 100%, I like the style that he's doing here, and I'm excited for the future of it to see what he does and, refine it a little bit more. But it's something different, which is always going to be huge for me. I'm always going to try and champion those, because it just needs something different.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for this one when it finally does come out. And one thing that I didn't really, because I have a review for this up there, and something else that I didn't really get into is, I think this is supposed to be more so of like a installation piece.
Oh, okay.
Because it's centered on like 4 different people, and it kind of cuts between each of their stories, and everything has this like translate like quality to it. Even the line delivery and everything is very, I don't want to say stilted, because it doesn't have the feel of like Sabbatical or something like that. It's just it almost feels like everyone's been hypnotized with their performances.
Oh, okay.
It's different, and
it looks like Frank Mosley told us that they're tentatively aiming for a Fandor release this winter or spring.
Which, that's another thing that has me excited, because I know a couple months back I think there's a partnership with Fandor and Factory 25, because I think that's how Stinking Heaven's going to be coming out, is on Fandor. So I really love this idea of Fandor picking these up and doing, VOD.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's almost like they're doing their own distribution of sorts. I'm surprised that more indie filmmakers haven't opted for the Vimeo on demand thing, because
either that or like L for Leisure with the
VHX,
where you can have like your own little website on there.
Yeah, you essentially self distribute, and you cut out a lot of the middleman type stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's harder just to get noticed when you're on platforms like that. Maybe it's because when you're on Vimeo on demand, you're kind of limiting your reach.
Yeah, true.
To a certain extent. You're not on iTunes. You're not on Amazon. I don't know. It's interesting. I saw The Gift, directed by Joel Edgerton.
I heard good things about this one, like a surprise. It's surprisingly good.
It is surprisingly good, because it doesn't, from the trailer, you think it's going to go one way, and it's different. It's different than what the trailer makes it out to be, to a certain extent. Some of the stuff you can kind of infer what's happening, but there's a lot of little twisties and turnies in there that you don't really see coming, and it's well made. It's incredibly tense. The whole movie has this kind of tense vibe to it, where at any moment you're just like, oh my god, what's happening here? And this is a slow burn too, in that not a lot happens in this movie. I mean, it's a slow burn thriller, but it just keeps you on edge the whole time. Just how and it made me jump twice, like intense jump scares that were not really anything, but because I was already on edge, it really made me jump. So I had a really good time with this. Jason Bateman in a dramatic role. I like to see him in dramatic roles from time to time. So he did a good job. Rebecca Hall did a good job too, and as did Joel Edgerton, who pretty much did everything on this movie, and he was great in it. So yeah, I definitely recommend The Gift.
I have to check that one out.
Oh yeah, I think you're gonna like it. You'll like it.
All right. Another American indie, Mudjackin.
I saw this one too. I was just waiting for you to.
Mudjackin. This was my latest unsung indies, which from Letterboxd, before me and you, I think like there was 3 people on there that saw it. That was it.
Well, it's as of now, there's 5 people.
So we added to it 5. And this was again. You can read my review I have up. Plus, within the review, I have a stream of the film itself because I was able to watch this for free on Vimeo, which is a huge bonus. But holy shit, does this thing have a boatload of ideas just going on? There's so many things going on in this movie, and it's so many different places, and it was just, again, it was energizing.
It was a little too much for me.
A little too much?
The problem I had, especially towards the beginning, like within the first act, was the fact that, and it kind of cools off towards the end, but for a large portion of this movie, it's just constant people talking over one another, and they layer dialogue, so it's like she's saying something, but then they have her like inner thoughts happening at the same time, and then they just layer audio. And I totally get that's a stylistic choice, but I found it to be kind of grating, and I was getting annoyed with that. But like I said, they kind of cool it with it towards the end.
Yeah, it does kind of.
And also, where this movie goes, I did not see that coming either.
I didn't either, and it just throws you in. Like, I was so confused at the very beginning because I thought that I screwed up and started like in the middle or something. Because I mean, the introduction to these people is just boom, raid.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, you have no idea like who the central characters are. You have no idea what this movie's about. And then, a little bit after that, then they kind of run through a pretty exhaustive history of this brother and sister, and
which I liked.
It's just so, and then halfway through it turns into, well, maybe not even halfway through, but then it turns into this like murder mystery, and it's just like, what are we doing?
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this movie, and then it gets even crazier. And see, it started losing me. The movie started losing me, and then he got when he got swept up with the whole neo-Nazi group. That's when it reeled me back in, because it got so funny at that point. His reaction too, just when he first walks in, and he's like, What's going on with the swastikas? And she's like, oh, it's just something we're trying.
I fully bought in. I got my ticket punched when he's going through like his idea of what happened, like of this murder mystery that he completely fabricates from his mind. And as he's running through it, they do like that fake trailer for the movie of what his idea is. And I just could not stop laughing. For like, why is he in a little rowboat with a cop that capsizes?
Yeah,
I don't understand that. And then there's a head explosion that just goes on for so long with just you can just see the blood flying out of the face.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell that they were so happy with the way that came out that they just allotted it extra screen time.
Yeah,
I had a lot of fun. Yeah, it probably could use some more focus, but I don't know, for a debut to see everything that's in here and then everything that they do have, the fact that the director Christopher Good, writer, director, he did all the cinematography for it, and there's a shit ton of camera movements going on in here.
Oh, God.
And the fact that he does all the editing, which to me the editing was just unbelievable. To have all these things going on and to be able to cut it and for it to not be just a completely incoherent mess was just extremely impressive.
It was teetering on the line for me of incoherent mess, but it didn't fully go over. It had kind of an Edgar Wright vibe to it to me, the way that just how kinetic everything was, and a lot of the camera movements and stuff felt like there was some Edgar Wright influence in there.
Oh, I could see that.
But I had fun with it. I thought it made me laugh quite a bit. And just going back, again, I can't stress enough how much shit is in this movie. I mean, it is just, there's so many little plot threads that are happening concurrently.
And then the way that it ends, which just kind of throws everything into disarray.
Yeah.
And when he's talking to the FBI guy and he just hands him that note that says that he's stuck in a movie.
Yeah. And the guy just walks away.
And then when he decides he wants to try and get out of this, and I love the fact that they introduce the neo-Nazis and they do it in like a Terrence Malick way. The skinhead walking through the tall grass with his arms out.
I loved it.
And the voiceover of him talking
so
about
funny.
And then he's trying to get out of doing this movie because he's a bumbling guy, and they've decided, oh, well, we'll make it a horror comedy because this guy's perfect. And he decides that he's just going to be absolutely terrible, and then they'll fire him from the production. They have to. So he does like the worst. He's just absolutely terrible, and it's hilarious. And they just think it's the best thing they've ever seen.
I thought it was the best thing I've ever seen. I loved it. It was so funny. Yeah.
I just can't wait to see more.
Yeah, this one's definitely worth checking out, and like Kevin said, it's available for free on Vimeo, so you can watch the whole thing.
It's only, and that's another thing. It's only like an hour and 25 minutes long. Like they jam pack so much into so little. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Check it out. That's Mud Jackin.
Jackin' Mud.
Yeah, definitely recommend that one. The only other one that I'll mention this week is one called Venus Flytrap. This is from 1987. This is it's been a long time, really long time, but this is a shot-on-video movie.
Okay.
So it's got that amazing VHS quality to it.
Nice.
Because it's shot on video. And, man, I can't even remember the last time I saw a movie that was shot on video, but it probably since shooting on video was like actually a thing. But the whole time I was watching this, I was like, man, this feels like a parody. It feels like a modern movie that's meant to look like an old VHS movie.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's real. It felt like something that you would see on like Tim and Eric do, or I don't know, like Harmony Korine or something. But I can't even describe this movie. So it's about a group of punk rock guys. It's two guys and a girl, and they rob a record store. And while they're robbing a record store, they end up meeting these two rich yuppies. And they find out that these two rich yuppies are having a party in their nice house, their mansion, and they go crash the party. And so it's kind of your classic punks versus yuppies story, and things don't work out the way that these punks expected. There's something waiting for them at this party, and I had a blast with this movie. It's I will say, like a lot of 80s movies, it's very homophobic. Like they say there's a lot of slurs being used, but that was kind of commonplace back then. So if you're okay with hearing some of that and just kind of chalking that up to the time period, it's it's ridiculous. Oh my god, it is so ridiculous.
What is this called?
It's called Venus Flytrap.
Yeah.
And I recommend it just because it's insane. It's not overly violent or overly sexual or anything like that. I mean, there is violence and nudity, but well, you know what? I'm gonna kind of give it away because it's worth. Well, all right, I won't. This I saw on the exploitation.tv streaming service that Vinegar Syndrome put out. So I don't know if there's any other way to see this one, but if you can, check it out. Venus Flytrap is the name.
Oh my. I got two real quick to run through. They're both horror movies. I was able to squeeze some in. One, and this will surprise you, found footage horror movie. The Taking of Deborah Logan from 2014.
Yeah, I saw this one.
Did you see this?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that this was found footage. It was just one of those random picks on Netflix, and then as soon as it started, I was like, oh, shit.
Did you pick it because of the cover?
I picked mostly because of the cover, and it was the only modern horror film that I looked at on Netflix that didn't have a 1-star rating. And I thought, and it was at like 2.5, and I was like, I think that's as high as I'm going to get. So I just had to set, because it was, it was after like 20 minutes of searching through Netflix.
Yeah.
And I wanted something modern. And gotta say, I mean, it's not that great, but I have to say that it was pretty surprising. I didn't find it 100% terribly stupid like I usually do with found footage movies. There were some things that I could have done without. One of the interesting things that I did like is how some of the people actually made good decisions. Like when shit started hitting the fan, and the her staff kind of upped their price. And then even when it got worse, the other guy was like, I don't care how much money, I'm leaving. And he just leaves and you never see him again.
Yeah.
I thought, yeah, that guy's smart. Good work. But it was an odd thing of how they try and connected the Alzheimer's to it didn't really quite work. But I had to say that it was unsettling. There was some disturbing imagery and kept me on edge for a little bit. So I'd say it's a light recommend.
Yeah. I didn't like this one, but I've seen so much found footage horror. I think in my Letterboxd review, I said, if this came out 3 or 4 years ago, I probably would have liked it a lot more. But having seen so much found footage, I just...
well, and again, I think that's what helps me here is I haven't seen that many.
Yeah.
And mostly the ones that I've seen are so bad. It was like, oh my god, this is a breath of fresh air.
I did like the Alzheimer's hook in that, too. I thought that was an interesting way to present, because, I mean, in reality, that is a very horrifying disease. And I thought that was an interesting way to put that in there, because it also made you think, it cast disbelief in there, because, just chalk that up to Alzheimer's. She has Alzheimer's. She's not possessed, but
then it quickly becomes apparent that it's more than Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And then that kind of goes out the window. I think they could have used that a little bit longer.
Yeah,
that hook. The other one that I saw was Children of the Corn from 1984.
Oh,
the original.
I just saw this for the first time not too long ago when I did my little Children of the Corn marathon.
Yeah, I did this Friday night, and this is something, right?
I didn't like it.
Children of the Corn.
I don't think I liked any of them in that whole series. They didn't really work for me.
Well, number one, some of the child acting in this is just downright god awful. Especially the kid that does the voiceover narration. That was terrible. And I mean, the initial sequence with them in the diner, when the kids kind of take over their first attack, that was something. I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
And but man, it just really goes nowhere for a really long time, because at a certain point in this movie, we paused it to smoke a cigarette, and there was 20 minutes left, and I thought to myself, well, that can't be right. Nothing's happened yet. Like, what's going to happen in the next 20 minutes? We're going to be able, to tie up all these loose ends, which they tried to. But there's just some stuff in here that's just way too hilarious. Like when the camera would kind of the quick zoom in on the corn itself, and it tried to be like, oh, the menacing corn, and you're like, it's fucking corn. What? This is such a ridiculous story. And then when the corn at the end is kind of like, it pulls Peter Horton down because apparently he can't overcome corn, and it starts to like cover his legs and whatnot, and he doesn't fight back for any reason. He's just like, oh, corn, and the little kid has to come out and save him. It's just, oh man, it was something.
Yeah,
such a ridiculous movie.
Well, you have 7 sequels that you can check out to complete the story.
So the story ends here. Children of the Corn. They killed the corn. Everyone's happy, and then they left behind a shit ton of kids. They just that couple took 2 of the kids and then just abandoned the rest of them.
Well, in the sequel, you find out where those kids went.
Okay.
They all get rescued. They all end up in an orphanage.
I don't. There's a part of me that wants to continue because I want to see how they make sense of this ridiculous story, because it makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, I'm going to give you a spoiler right now. They don't really do a good job of explaining it.
That's what I figure. Because I'm like, okay, who's the man that walks behind the rose? What's happening? And then all of a sudden it's like a giant mole, and you're like, what the fuck is going on?
It's ridiculous, and all of the sequels, it just gets more ridiculous and more convoluted as each movie occurs. I think almost all, if not all, of these are on Netflix though, that you can stream.
I think you are correct.
I think when I did the marathon, all of them but part 2, which was on Netflix.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
No, I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, there's some movies, some of these movies like Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, where I would say, yeah, it's worth just plowing through the whole series. But Children of the Corn, no, absolutely not.
No, I got off the Children of the Corn train Friday, and I'm never getting back on.
Yep, can't blame you on that. All right, let's go over our predictions from last week and pull this up here. The Last Witch Hunter, you said 38, I said 34, actual 15. Ouch. Gem and the Holograms, you said 20, I said 27, actual 20.
Wow.
Yeah, hit the nail on the head there. I think that there was I can't remember. I apologize, but it was on my Twitter feed. Somebody said that some of the employees who work at the actual theaters made more than the Gem and the Holograms opening night. Because it didn't do well. It did not. It pretty much bombed. So I'm actually glad to see that, because that's not cool.
That was a stupid idea.
Stupid idea. Paranormal Activity Ghost Dimension. You said 6. I said 12. Actual 13.
Wow, that's way too high.
Yeah,
that's way too high. I'm sorry.
We didn't predict this, but I saw it on the list, and I thought I should mention that Rock the Casbah, the one with Bill Murray, got an 8.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, next week, Burnt. This is the one with Bradley Cooper. Now, this one, I'm not so sure about this one. Here's a little story about this. We got invited to a press conference for Burnt, and I don't typically go to press conferences just because I there's just really nothing for me there. Just ask. I don't see the point in asking these kind of softball generic questions that every other publication asks to the same actors. So I was like, no, I'm not really interested in going to the press conference, but we'll go to the press screening. And the publicists emailed me back, and they were like, well, the press screening is really it's not for reviews. It's for editorial coverage only. And I was like, what? Like, I can't review it based on that press screening? So that kind of had me wondering, because it's rare that happens, where they basically embargo you from reviewing the movie based on a press screening. So that kind of led me to believe, all right, maybe there's something going on with this movie. And then they ended up doing something really weird with the distribution, where like the Weinstein Company made it, they changed the distribution of it and made it like they pulled it up a week, so it's releasing a week early or something, and then it's like a nationwide release. So either way, it seems like there's something kind of weird about this movie, and I don't think it's. I think that it's probably not going to be great. So I'll predict 46.
I'm gonna guess 32.
It also had, I think, at least 2 title changes. It was originally called Chef, but then they realized that they can't do that. And then it was changed to whatever the name of Bradley Cooper's character is, and it was like his name, the character name.
Yeah.
And then it was Burnt.
All right.
Also coming out next week, Our Brand is Crisis. It's the new David Gordon Green.
Mm-hmm.
What are you thinking on this one?
52.
All right. I have very little desire to see this one. No desire, actually. So
I'm 100% with you.
It just doesn't look appealing to me. It just kind of looks boring. I don't know. It's not my thing. I like David Gordon Green, but it seems like, it's funny. I always remember that interview that we first saw on the George Washington Criterion DVD, where I think it was a Charlie Rose interview, and he asked him, what's next? What do you want to do? And David Gordon Green was like, well, I kind of want to do everything. I want to do comedies, I want to do like big dramas, I want to do science fiction, and that's kind of what he's doing. I mean, he's all over the place, this guy.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that, but at the same time, it's not like he's the type of director where I could just blindly go see whatever he makes. He's not like a Tarantino or Wes Anderson where I know the style and I know that I'm going to like it regardless.
Yeah.
Those are really the only 2 big releases. In limited release next week, we have Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, The Wonders, which I think you're going to review that.
Mm-hmm.
The Armor of Light, that's a documentary about the pastor who comes out against guns, who comes out for gun control and like the problems that causes him.
Yeah.
And Gaspar Noé's Love. I'll be checking that one out. I'm gonna try to check that one out in 3D, just to do it, just to say I did it. Next week on VOD we have Rise of the Giants, Bloody Knuckles, Bear, and Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. I'll be checking out the Scout's Guide one, obviously. Not holding my breath on it. I like Ty Sheridan, so that'll be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Next week on Blu-ray we have Army of Darkness is getting a new Blu-ray version. I feel like out of all of the movies ever made, Army of Darkness has more versions that come out. And anytime there's a new format, Army of Darkness is always one of the first movies that comes out on that format.
It does seem that way.
I don't know. It's weird. I guess that is one of those movies that consistently sells on home release. It must that just must be it. But they're coming out with a collector's edition on Blu-ray. Let's see what else. The Gift, Southpaw, Pixels, and Breeders is getting a release from 1986. Sometimes they come back. The Stephen King film from 1991. Max, that one about the dog with PTSD.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
Alright.
What do we got on the Criterion front?
Oh, we got a big one.
Yeah.
We got a big one, buddy. We got Mulholland Drive, David Lynch, and I don't think I really need to say any more about that, except for, obviously, what you're getting with this one is new interviews with Lynch, the director of photography, Peter Deming, actors, composer, production designer, casting director, whole bunch of stuff. Booklet with interview with David Lynch from 2005, deleted scenes, one-set footage, all the good stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, I like this idea of David Lynch being on Criterion.
So do I. And the Coen brothers are going to be on Criterion now too.
Yeah.
So that's going to be awesome as well. All right, I think that'll do it. Also, Meteor Man. The Meteor Man's coming out from 1993. Remember that one with Robert Townsend?
Oh shit! Are you serious? On
Classic.
Criterion?
Classic Meteor Man. No, yeah, Criterion. Yeah, sure.
Criterion getting that 4K digital transfer? Oh shit!
Oh God.
Doing interviews with Robert Townsend?
Oh boy. All right, I think that is gonna do it for the week. Send us your questions and topics to podcast@filmpulse.net. You can follow us on Twitter @filmpulsenet and @filmpulsekevin. And please take a minute to take a look at our Patreon page, patreon.com/filmpulse, and consider helping us out by becoming a subscriber. For Kevin Rakestraw, my name's Adam Patterson, and we will see you next week.